Once you've added text to your Word document, you'll probably want to think about making it more visually interesting and easier to read. There are a number of formatting options you can apply to do just that. That's going to be our focus in this chapter. As we continue working with our Tech Connect document, you can close up any version you might be working with and open up this one, Tech Connect 0301 from the Chapter 3 folder of your exercise files. As you can see, it's a very plain looking document. A lot of text, and that's all it is, and it's not all that nice to look at. We can make some improvements to this using some formatting techniques we're going to explore. Let's start with the font that's being used throughout this document. Click anywhere in any of the paragraphs and go up to the ribbon with the Home tab selected. Here in the font group, you're going to see the name that's being used, in this case, Times New Roman. You'll also see the size that's being used, the font size set to 11, and that's the same throughout. We can really add some interest by changing up font sizes, font faces, so we could change it from Times New Roman to something else. Let's start with the entire document. Perhaps we don't want to work with Times New Roman. Something else might be better. Well, the first step is to select everything. Here's your keyboard shortcut, Control-A, as in all. Go ahead and do that. You can see everything is selected. Next, we can go right up here to this font group on the ribbon, click the drop-down next to Times New Roman. You can see it's highlighted. And let's choose something else. As you scroll down the alphabetical list, you'll see there are many, many fonts to choose from. Now, you may not see the same list that I see. It all depends on your installation. But we're going to go down to one called Calibri. Go ahead and select it. Notice as you hover over these, you get a nice real-time preview in the background of what that's going to look like. There's the light version of it. You can see there's many to choose from. Some would not be useful in our scenario with a long document, but might be good for titles and depending on the type of document you're creating. Let's go to Calibri and select it. Notice the entire document is changed throughout using the new font face, Calibri. Looks pretty good. Now the size might be a little bit too big for this document. Let's select everything again. You know the keyboard shortcut, Control-A. And we'll go to the size drop down here. And let's change it to 10. Now you'll also notice buttons next to this to bump the font size up or down by the increments that we see on this drop down. So if I want to make it bigger, it goes up to 11, then up to 12. Let's knock it back down with a couple of clicks to 10 points. Now you can click anywhere in the background to see what that looks like. Already it looks very different than what we started with, and we've only made a couple of changes. Let's go to specific text now, which means selecting it first and then applying the change. We'll go to Tech Connect, the title. Click in the left-hand margin once next to Tech Connect, and you can see the entire paragraph, even though it's one line, it does have a return at the end, is selected. There's also this little pop-up dialog that appears where we can use the formatting toolbar using most of the options we see up here in the font group. So let's try that again. Once you click it, that appears and you can go directly to it. You don't need to go up to the ribbon. So if we wanted to, for example, bump up the size. I'm thinking Calibri's fine, but the size, I'm going to click the drop down here. And I want to go to, let's say 60. So we get down to 48 and realize the next one is 72. How do we get 60? Right inside this field, we can backspace over the 10, type in 60, and press Enter. There we go. Now it's still selected or highlighted, so we can apply additional changes here if we wanted to as well. For example, maybe we want to change the color. The font color has its own drop-down as well, where you'll see theme colors. Themes are what can be applied to entire documents. Color schemes are part of a theme. And you can see there are a number of different shades of yellows, grays, greens, etc. Let's go to the fourth column here, which is blacks and grays. And we won't go right to the bottom. We'll go to the second from the bottom, a very dark gray called blue gray, text to lighter, 25%. You can see that pop up as you hover over it. Give it a click. Click in the background now to see what that looks like. That's coming along. Other things we can do like bolding, italics, underlining, and again, we would probably apply those to selected content. We'll get into some of the other changes and groups of changes that can be stored in things called styles as we move through this chapter.